Walking along in the Modoc Lava Beds National Monument.
The indigenous people's struggle, the Modoc people particularly in the Modoc War of 1872-73, but talking a little bit about the reservation system and also taking a look at the natural environment. And so this is an area, although they wouldn't have lived here, they certainly had contact with the area around where we're at, Medicine Lake, and we'll see some more of that a little bit later. But if you take a look at the volcanic activity out here, this is what's called Little Glass Mountain. You can see the obsidian, and over a few thousand years ago this whole area was dominated by a peak which is now collapsed in on itself, and that's Medicine Lake. And the region is much larger than if you were to visit Mount Shasta, and that area around Shasta, just to the east where Medicine Lake is, that area is just riddled with volcanic activity. And that's part of the story here, because the Modocs fought the military in the lava beds. So it's important to get a sense of what's up here. It's a very isolated region in Northern California. You're actually hours away from any large city, and cities aren't very large up here, by the way. You're looking at Susanville, Shasta City, Wairika. Further to the south along that I-5 corridor is Redding. So we're out here in the far eastern part of the state, up in the north, in the Klamath Basin, and just over that was Medicine Lake, but in that day it was a peak, bigger than it is said Mount Shasta. Blew its top, collapsed in on itself, and this became for hundreds and hundreds of years a place where native peoples would come to practice their spiritual beliefs. Today it sits high up in the Klamath Basin, overlooking the Modoc Plateau.
The Lava Beds is an isolated region up here in Northern California, and it's riddled with caves. These caves are strung out along a region that is emblematic of volcanic character here in Northern California and the Cascades, that stretches all the way down to Lassen Volcanic National Park. But here at the Lava Beds, these caves, which are numbered in the dozens and dozens, are places that you can explore, and they tell a great deal of the past as well as the present. So this is the story of Captain Jack, Modoc resistance warrior, who led a small band of his people back in the 1872-73 war against the United States Army, and held them at bay in this area that we're walking through. It was one of those stories where, as in many, native peoples were thrown off their lands and put on reservations by the U.S. government. So the Modocs here in Northern California were moved off lands along the Tule Lake, Lost River region, very fertile land. The settlers came in, took over, and so the native peoples had to move on. Up there you can see very clearly that's some very fertile land, and that's what the settlers were interested in. And so Tule Lake up in Northern California on the border of Oregon, California, became a prime battleground. Not much of a fight because the Modocs essentially did submit, and as I already pointed out, they moved out onto the reservation up in Oregon. That didn't work out well for them, and so they would eventually, under the leadership of Captain Jack, try and return peacefully, but that was not to be. Captain Jack decided that he needed to meet with General Canby and see if there could be some negotiations that could end the crisis in an amenable manner. However, there were divisions within his own tribe, and Captain Jack, needing to demonstrate his authority, ended up in this negotiations with Canby, ended up killing the general. And so this, of course, would only up the ante in relationship to the eventual outcome as far as Captain Jack was concerned. But this is a story that is filled with recriminations, horrors, and ultimately the end of the way of a people who lived throughout this region for thousands of years. They were put on a reservation with peoples like the Klamath Indians who were not historically their friends, which led to inevitable troubles and turmoils. And so Captain Jack returned to his native land, and in this area here is where he led a resistance movement with a small band of men, a few women. They hid out here in the Modoc lava bed region, and they fought off the U.S. military. It's a story that didn't end well for Captain Jack because eventually members of his own tribe betrayed him, and he was turned over and eventually tried and executed by the U.S. military. But it is a story that's well worth telling, and that's what we're here to do.